Hey, what's up everybody? It's Flux with fluxwithit.com, and today I'm here to show you a new plugin from Native Instruments. This is Supercharger GT. It is a new compressor plugin from Native Instruments. You might remember that they released a Christmas gift plugin, their Compressor Supercharger, which was a pared down version of Supercharger GT. And essentially what this is they've expanded on a lot of the hidden controls that were on Supercharger. So on Supercharger, we had the input trim with the kind of idiot-proof LED here. If you don't understand how that works, what this would do is allow you to take an input, and as long as the LED was in the green while the input was, sending it sound, you were pretty much sure that you weren't going to be getting clipping on the output unless, of course, you raised your output to clip. Then you had your wet and dry mix, your punch, which essentially would raise the attack and allow for some transients to, run past the compressor. Dirt, which was a preset amount of saturation, and then your compressor knob and side chaining knob, which you didn't really have much control over. So now what we have is we have Compressor GT, which is giving us control over the detection for side chain and your input also. We have a side chain input level, and again we have that idiot proof control here with the LED. We have saturation knob. Now this saturation knob is great because it gives us 3 different modes of saturation and control over just how powerful that saturation is, and it's a really great sounding saturation. We'll get into that in a second. We have our attack and decay knobs, or attack and release, like most standard compressors. We also have our gentle, punch, and slam. These are basically presets that will allow us to quickly jump through different settings of attack and release. Our character knob will let us switch between fat, warm, bright, and the amount of that character. So you can have a very clean and clinical compressor, or you can get a lot of character out of your compressor if you want that more analog and vintage tone, or you want a brighter, more brittle sound. You can do that as well. We have our wet and dry mix. We have our stereo mode here, and the stereo mode allows us to do mid-side, dual mono, or stereo linking, and then our output. So let's just jump right into it. Right now what I have is I have just a very simple drum loop loaded up, and I'm going to show you how we can affect the sound. Now that's the dry drum loop with no compressor on it. Let's go ahead and bring this in. And what you're going to hear on this, let's go ahead and we'll have a loop running. So you can hear as we raise the saturation, we have it on hot right now, so it's a very fuzzy, gritty saturation distortion right there. And as you could hear when I was raising the character knob on the warm, you're getting a lot of that middle frequencies are becoming more rounded. Now if we go to fat, I'm going to take this down, and let's go ahead and listen to how the fat character affects it. You can hear that lower, rounded bottom end. So that's very useful for kind of beefing up a drum, giving it a little bit more low-end punch. Let's take it to bright so you can hear how that affects it as well. You could hear how it really kind of brings out those hi-hats and just really makes it kind of in your face on the top end. Now, the saturation, I really like these different saturation modes. They sound very much like a lot of the analog fuzz pedals that I have, and also just some of the analog clipping that I have. So I like it a lot. I think they did a really, really good job of making this sound correct. So let's take a listen. And it really kind of reminds me of some of the great saturation sounds that you can get out of the other Native Instrument plugin Driver. So very, very useful and just really sounds great. Let's go ahead and take a look at how this sounds on a few other types of sounds. Now here I have a guitar loop loaded up. And we'll just run through some presets on that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the fuzz box here. And what you're going to notice is instantly the compressor is set up with low compression ratio, you know, a high release, low attack, and so it's basically out of the way. And the character knob is up on fat pretty high, and a lot of saturation, a lot of hot saturation. And listen to the difference in the sound. Again, without it. Now with it. So it really gives it that bite. So we'll actually, let me go to a new pattern here so I can let this loop in. We'll play with some of the sounds here, and I'm going to run through the character and some compression settings on here, and you'll really hear how it changes. So it's just very easy to get these very nice sounds out of it, and really kind of change the character of the guitar sound with it. Let's jump over here to the bass sound. Toss this in here. We're going to toss the drums in here. And what I'm going to do now is let's go ahead and get into the side chaining a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the electric bass compressor here be side chained. We'll turn on side chaining, go to the side chain input, and we will chain it to the drums here, and we'll set this filter on. And let's see what we're getting. easy to get interesting sounds out of this. Another great feature about this is the presets on here are really usable and very fun to play with. Let's go over here to this drum kit I have here. This is a Pearly kit from the Flux With It Dominant Drums pack. This pack will be released very soon on Big Fish Audio, so shameless plug there. But let's take a look at how we can use it on these drums. Now with the mid side, we can really widen up the mix. Take a listen to this. And of course, we can get really drastic results using things like the 303 Crusher preset on here, which is going to give us a lot of saturation and really make this thing scream. So it's very easy to get excellent sounds out of this. I think this has become one of my favorite compressor plugins, to be perfectly honest with you. I love the saturation and character knobs on it. I think you can get really excellent pumping effects out of it and just great overall tone out of it. It sounds very much like the real thing. So I highly recommend checking it out. It's Supercharger GT from Native Instruments. This is fluxwithit.com. Peace.